has any of this losing maybe possibly impacted recruiting targets?
You know, there was a recruiting story that broke over the weekend. I don't know if a lot of people are even aware of it. Clemson's 2024 running back commit, David Ajamame, has come out over the weekend that he has been to Auburn twice this season as a guest of friends, former teammates, whatever. You know, he went to the Sanford game, then he went this past weekend to the Georgia game. And I think this has been addressed with Clemson and the coaching staff right now. I talked to him Sunday. This is a guy who's kind of really blown up during his senior season. I think he leads the state of Georgia in rushing yards right now, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that, but I think he does. This is his first year starting, and he's kind of blown up. You know, he's been committed for a long time. Wasn't getting all the attention that he might otherwise have been getting had he chose to, you know, take his recruitment into the fall. Starting to get some attention from other schools now, but what I'm trying to say is maybe he's not quite as experienced in this recruiting process as some other guys. And what he sees as, you know, harmless as him tagging along with some buddies, you know, I don't think Auburn's coaching staff's going to view it that way. I know Clemson's coaching staff's not going to view it that way. But he told me there was nothing to worry about. And I you know, having talked to him a lot over the past year and gotten to know him a little bit, I tend to buy what he's saying. He's been at, I can't remember if he's been at all three of Clemson's home games, but he's been at least two of them. And he's been Clemson's biggest recruiter in that class, man. He has been very active online trying to, you know, help recruit the class. He's been one of the most vocal guys over the past 6 months to a year. I think this is a big nothing burger that's got turned into more than what it is. But, you know, there's been some rumors about Bryant Wesco taking a visit to Oklahoma. I can't find anything to back any of that up other than, you know, message board fodder. As we sit here today, I think everybody's still solid, man, but you never know, especially in with the advent of NIL and how aggressive some of these schools are with using it these days. Some schools are just paying players just to visit. I mean, you can never say never, but I think as we sit here today, October the 3rd or whatever date it is, I think Clemson's class is pretty solid right now.
That is the first time I've heard that. Paying players just to visit.
That is what I've heard, man. You're never going to get anybody to probably admit it, but I have heard that there are some schools paying players to visit. Well, nothing would surprise me anymore.
No, but I didn't think of that, but it doesn't surprise me, but I hadn't even crossed my mind that would happen, but there we go. Well, Jason, regardless of how it lands, you're about as plugged in as anybody, and certainly there's been a number of times you've said things on here that certainly ended up that way, so we know that you're doing everything you can to stay plugged in, but it's impossible to know what's going on between these guys' ears.
You know, I didn't even know Ajamame had taken the first visit. It didn't even come to my attention until this weekend, you know, and it was something that happened weeks ago. So the only reason I caught wind of it this weekend was because he posted a picture of one of his social media accounts with him and Cam Newton at the Auburn game. Otherwise, I might not have known about it because I hadn't really, you know, he's a guy I would never have thought of that had been taking other visits elsewhere. But, you know, he's got a coach on the coaching staff there where he plays at North Cobb that used to play at Auburn. So there's some connections there. And he's got a couple buddies he's trying to help get recruited. But, you know, that's Auburn's way of getting him to campus, right? That's how they draw him in, and then they do the pitch once they get him there. I see his perspective though, where he sees it as kind of being harmless, but I think the coaching staff has kind of shut this down since then. I know when I talked to him Sunday, we text back and forth for a little while, and ironically, right after the last text, man, he's on Twitter talking about how he's all in. So.
Good stuff from Jason. Well, Clemson fans, root for NC State this week, root for Syracuse, root for Georgia Tech.
You need to root for Louisville to lose too, because you look at Louisville's schedule, there is no meat on the bone there.
I know it, but they're playing Notre Dame. That's the only reason I didn't bring them up. Non-conference
game. No ACC game this week. That is true.
Yeah, so I left them out of the equation, but yeah, they got to start losing some games too. A lot of teams out there need to start losing some games, but they'll run into each other. But unlike this is the first time without the division, which actually helps Clemson because they don't just need to flag down Florida State, which is nearly impossible. They just need to flag somebody else down
Right.
or the rest of them down.
If we still had divisions, talking about the ACC championship game would be pointless right now.
Yeah, you'd need 3 losses out of Florida State, and that schedule doesn't have 3 losses. But you're right, that Louisville avoiding Clemson and Florida State, and I think North Carolina.
Somebody told me that if they ended up tied with Clemson, Clemson will win the tiebreaker. I don't know what all the tiebreakers are, so I don't know. But so maybe they only have to lose 2 and not 3.
Yeah, I won't even get into that at this point. I actually worked on all that. I should be able to rip that off because I had 2 or 3 teams tying for second place in the ACC in my predictions, and so I had to go to the tiebreaker to figure out who would win. Yeah,
Oh man, I had Pitt either second or third in my ACC prediction, so those are all blown out of the water.
I'm right there with you.
So I knew some other people did too. It wasn't just me, but man, did they have me fooled? Wow.
I was happy I didn't pick them to go to the ACC championship game, but I picked them to tie to go, and fortunately it went somewhere else because I'd really look like a fool at this point.
I think I had them third, yeah, just behind Clemson and Florida State.
I'm right there with you. All right, Jason, good to see you. Enjoy the game on Saturday.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it, Mark. See you next time.